Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. What's going on, folks? Welcome to 34 Questions. I'm your host, 34. And tonight we have Miss Mott in the building.
Hi, everybody.
How you doing tonight, Miss Mott?
Good. How are you? Happy
Good.
Lunar New Year.
Happy Lunar New Year. Yeah, it's today's the second though, right? Yesterday was the
Yes,
first.
I think it was yesterday. Yep, exactly.
I gotcha. Yeah, year of the snake. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I need to talk to someone who who knows more than I do about it.
I
um,
looked it up. You can research it based on what your astrological sign is. What do you know what your Chinese zodiac is?
you're the horse.
Okay, so you're horse. So you would just look up horse in snake year. I'm a tiger.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about it. It's every 12 years, right? So
I think so. Yeah.
I was thinking about when I was 23, because that's 12 years ago now. And I don't know if that was a particularly good year. I don't have really fond memories, so I'm kind of bracing myself, but I'm definitely gonna have to check it out. For you and for the folks out there who are unfamiliar with the flow of the show, just want to let you know we're gonna start off with the warm up. After the warm up, we'll jump into an icebreaker. After that, we'll get into the wheel of fate, where we'll spin the wheel, whichever number it lands on. That's how the show will kind of flow. And then after that, we'll finish out with some closeout questions. Sound good to you, Miss Mott?
Sounds good.
Awesome. But before we do all that, I just want to ask you, how are you? You doing well? You doing great? How you been lately?
Good. I'm a teacher, and so in high school, and the kids are a little bit off the hook right now, but that's just what happens after winter break. You have to dive back in. So busy, doing good though. Otherwise, everything's good.
For sure.
I
I
mean,
got you.
without watching the news, I'm trying to avoid some of that.
Yeah, the news is a lot these days. Yeah, well, we could jump into that a little bit later. Uh, I know it's almost February. How's this first month been? We getting off on the right foot, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always try to have the students set goals, and so I try to follow my own advice, and set
I
some
got you.
goals for the new year, have some good intentions. So for like your horse and you're the snake, you just have to put it out there that it is good, and that, any lessons or challenges you'll use as like a stepping stone to something greater. It's hard to do, but if you can try to keep that in your head, that's what I try to do, and that's what I try to teach the kids.
No, I got you. It's hard sometimes,
It's not
but
easy.
I'll definitely try to keep it in mind. I got to read up on it too. I want to know exactly what it says about
Yeah.
what this year might be like for me and for everyone else born in the same year. I guess we're all
Yep.
we're
Yep.
going through it together.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Let's jump into the warm up. Oh no! Oh wait, sorry, I'm messing around with my effects. My first question for you in the warm up, Miss Mott, is what would you like the audience to know about you? This could be like just a disclaimer of yourself. That's how I describe it to folks.
Okay. I'm a special ed teacher in high school. I'm a drummer in a band called Tight Pants and the Dynamite. I also do sometimes, we do a horror blog with some of my bandmates called Fog City Horror. I have an awesome dog who's a little pit bull mix, and she rules the house. Her name's Lily. So my life is all about like the kids, music, and chilling with friends and family and my dog.
That sounds pretty dope, Miss Mott. I knew about the teacher side, and I remember you singing at karaoke, but I did not see the drummer thing coming.
Cool. Thank you.
How long you been drumming for?
Since I was about 14. So I grew up in a really religious family that had a church with instruments. And so I grew up ever since I was little with instruments around me. So I always took lessons, vocal lessons and like all kinds of instruments. But they had a lot of rock kind of music. So they had guitar, bass, and drums. And then when I was about 13, 14, I would go mess around on the drums with my little like Walkman headset, this is back in the day, and listen to songs I liked and try to copy it. And so I asked the guys in the band, they were like young guys that played like in the rhythm section, and I said, hey, I want to learn drums. And they were like, all right. And so they sat me down and they even held my hands, you know what I mean? And kind of showed me like what I was doing and let me play around with it. And then over time they let me play and I just learned how to play. And then I was in a band. Sadly for my parents, I was not religious though, and was in a punk band like immediately. So they were kind of bummed out. I wasn't like going to be in a Christian band. I was like, no. This is going to be rock and roll.
I got you. Did it almost feel natural to you? Because I am not one of those people. I've tried to pick up a bunch of instruments before, and I don't know, I'm just not gifted in that way. And people tell me at least that, you know, it's never too late. And
Right.
I'm not giving up, but I just know it makes me feel like I gotta work twice as hard just to learn an instrument. But for you, did it just like, how did it feel the first time you were playing?
It did. What's weird about instruments for me is I could always sing. I don't know why, but just ever since I was really little, I just sang, and they were like, "Oh, you can sing." And then I would sing, even like at our church in front of people when I was only like 5. So they would say, you know, I just did that naturally. Not that I haven't taken lessons later to learn control. The drums came natural to me because I could always do my right hand faster than the left hand, but at the same time. You know what I mean? Where it's not like, you know, where it's like a smooth kind of, this is faster while you do the other side, right?
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is what you just have to do, and it's not easy. And then I even learning to put my foot in there, because then the foot is one off once you put that kick pedal in. That wasn't hard for me. Now other things about the drums can be hard, but those things I could sort of already do, and I had that kind of antsy rhythm. I'm an antsy kind of person, so I feel like a lot of drummers I know are kind of antsy. I use my hands a lot. I'm like maybe built to be that kind of a, you know, musician. Piano came easy for me early on too, but then I've also, as an adult, taken violin. I was horrible. I tried to learn guitar. It does not work with my fingers. I'm playing ukulele right now and learning, but it's really, really hard for me because my fingers just don't do what I'm supposed to do. So those are instruments that aren't coming easy. So I quit the violin even though I took lessons. So sometimes an instrument might just be better for like your body or like how you are. And it's okay to say, I'm not going to give up, but I feel an affinity towards, you know, keyboards. I think I could do that. And then just be realistic. Because you can learn anything. It's just how much commitment do you want to put into it, right?
Very true. You actually just made me think about how I've tried instruments, but I don't think I've really stuck to like a flute or like a wind, you know, instrument, you know.
Oh, right.
I remember I loved playing the recorder, so and I wasn't that bad at it.
Did you clarinet maybe or flute?
Maybe I gotta try it. I gotta get on the
Right.
Andre 3000 hype, you know. Maybe.
Exactly. It's so cool. I love him. He's amazing.
You also mentioned a horror blog.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. So
What's it called again?
Fog City Horror.
Mm-hmm.
And so me and a couple bandmates and then a good friend of ours who's a DJ, we just do it for fun. You know, we'll watch a couple of movies and then we rate them. We go through Radio Valencia.
Yeah.
And so I have some friends who DJ and have shows on Radio Valencia. And so we got a slot on some Sundays. It depends like when we do it, but on the Sundays we've done it, it would be like 4 to 6. And we rate it with each other, you know, so we debate it, we argue over it. We don't always like the same thing. And we try to watch what's new. We try to compare it to old ones, and we just sort of have fun with it because we all love horror. And then you know how movies you get into these debates about it, and people get pretty passionate about horror movies being good or not so good.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
fun.
no, I hear you. That's
fun.
pretty dope. What's the station that you're on Sundays?
Radio Valencia,
Okay, Radio
and it's
Valencia.
out of the Mission. So we, you know, they rent. There's like a studio in the Mission,
Mhm.
and it's like a really cool local radio station, and people have a bunch of shows on there. So sometimes there's comedy, there's rock shows, there's reggae shows, you know, there's hip hop shows, there's our blog about horror. So there's all kinds of stuff all the time. It's super fun. You can just check it out for free online if you just type in Radio Valencia, and a show's going like at all times for free.
That's what's up. That's what's up. I'll check
Yeah.
it out. Well, as far as horror movies go, I want to ask you if you've seen The Heretic yet.
Is it Heretic?
Yeah, Heretic.
Haven't. Is it good?
You seen the trailer or you know what's about it all?
Nope.
Okay. So have you ever seen Cloverfield Lane 10
Yes.
with
yes.
John Goodman? Yeah.
Yes.
So it's sort of like that. That's the best way I could describe it. It like the way it climbs up and how you're unsure what's happening.
Yeah.
It had a lot of those moments. At the end of it, I felt more horror and gory. Definitely the first half is more like, I think, psychologically thriller type. But yeah, it was interesting. It was very much about religion, and
Ooh,
yeah, let me just leave it at that. So you sound a little interested, so I'll
I'm
just
interested. I love the ones where they mess with your head and you're like, I don't know what's happening. Like, is this real? Is this fake? Is this in their head? Like, right?
yeah,
Where's
yeah.
this going? I love that.
So I wanted to ask if you saw that, and well, current, like, I guess your maybe two recent movies that you've seen. Which one did you like, and which one you feel like was overhyped?
So we're gonna go see this movie called, I mean, this is kind of a little bit off. I can't tell you if it's good or not. Saturday we have tickets to a movie called The Companion.
Okay.
Have you heard about that?
I've heard of the name, but tell me what the plot is, if you can.
So the plot, like, I guess the premise is that this woman is an AI generated, like, I don't know if it would be like a girlfriend or something for this person, but she goes off on like a psychotic rampage, not knowing she's AI or something weird like that. So I guess they say the more you don't know, the better, because it's also going to mess with you. We don't really know where it's going. So that's the whole premise of like the trailer is like, you don't even know what is going to happen. So like, watch that. The Substance I saw recently and I thought was awesome and weird with Demi Moore. If you saw that,
I think
she's like not, it's bizarre though, and it like goes off the rails. But we talked about that on the show, and we were like, I don't even know, like everyone has opinions about it, but we all thought Demi did a really good job, and she's like nominated for it or something, for whatever. And so I thought that was cool and definitely worth the hype, because even if you didn't like the movie, it's worth the watch and the discussion. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to me, something's worth the hype if you get into a discussion about it, even if you didn't like it. So I don't mind if something's like too hyped up, because then now I want to discuss it, and it makes it kind of like it's better than boring, right?
No, I hear you.
It creates this whole energy. Something not worth the hype though that I didn't like. I mean, any of those new Nicolas Cage movies that have come out lately, I just don't like him anymore. He's kind of like too much, you know what I mean? Like, he used to be amazing, and then he started doing these really bizarre horror movies, but like back to back to back, weirder than the next one or something. I don't know. So I was like, meh. So I thought him as an actor in those horror movies is sort of like turned me off, you know?
Yeah, I got you. I haven't seen his horror movies. The latest Nick Cage movie I saw was the one with Pedro Pascal. I think that's his name. When that I guess that was more comedic than anything, but that was
that's cool. And like, Nicolas Cage is a great actor. I mean, I like him, but you get what I mean? But he's been doing these weird, gory, like freaky movies. I'm like, what? I don't know where we're going with this. It's weird.
No,
like he's bored or something.
he might be.
People are bored. You know what I mean? They've done everything. They have everything. Let's do a weird, gory movie every 3 months. Okay.
I'm a big comic book fan, and I know he's coming out with a show like Spider-Man Noir, where he plays Spider-Man. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. He finally got his like superhero. Well, he did do Ghost Rider. Anyways,
right.
Let's jump into my second question for you in the warm-up, Ms. Mott, is how would you like to be honored? If there's a way people could express the energy you possess, what sort of act could they do?
I would say like volunteering or donating to some animal charities, like working at a shelter for a day, or like fostering animals, or like adopting an older animal or an unwanted animal, and just like really giving back as like a human to some needy animals. I would love that. That would honor me so much. If I go anytime soon, because I'm not going to remember this conversation if I'm like 100 and I died. But say I died tomorrow, I would want you to go out and like go to a shelter and like play with some cats that are alone, and like walk a couple dogs that are lonely, and just like give them treats, and like, that would be really cool.
Sure. Do you feel like, it sounds like you have a special bond with animals?
Yeah.
You have a pet now, or pet?
Yeah, Lily is my dog, and she's the little pity mix, and she's like super spoiled, and she was a rescue, and she just makes my husband and I smile every day. She cheers us up on like the worst day with the worst news. She's just like a joy, And so we're like almost honored as humans, because we don't know what is in their head, right? I don't know why there's dogs that like people or whatever it is. I don't know the universe. I can't answer why that happens and why there's a bond, but it's almost like she understands us. So it's pretty cool, and I feel honored that like I have her in my life, and she makes us so happy. So I feel
No,
like, however, that was like a blessing. You know what I mean?
no, for sure. I think particularly with dogs, there's the whole like we, evolved with them pretty much, right? Like I don't know what the history is. I'm not well versed,
Right.
but I I've heard that phrase before that dogs have, been by humankind's side for a long time.
Right.
I
That's
know,
what they
yeah.
say. You have a dog?
I don't. I had a doubt. My dad tried a couple times growing up to have a dog and have me take care of him.
Yeah.
But I was at an age I wasn't really like, oh man, we have a dog.
Right.
But my dad named it Sexy because
Uh-huh.
he liked the idea of calling it over by saying sexy.
Like, hey,
He's like,
sexy, come here, sexy. Sexy.
he's old school like that, I
Cute,
guess.
cute. I like your dad. He's funny. Cute.
But yeah, so I never got a chance. I think now that I'm older, definitely like they say your animal almost picks up on your personality too, right? And so I don't know if you know Burmese mountain dog.
Yes, my husband's sister has one right now.
I think that's the dog, that kind of dog I would like to pick up.
Yeah.
They seem so cool to me. But yeah, how about cats? How do you feel about cats?
I love cats. It's just that my dog is like a little too obsessed with them, and she wants to chase them and stuff. So if we had one, I feel like they would destroy the house. You know what I mean? Because she wants to play like a little too rough with them, and I just can see them like destroying each other, like in those crazy videos where like the dogs and cats are like wild.
Yeah.
So we're never gonna get a cat with her. But I've had cats and they're cool. Not all cats are chill though. Some cats are just like they'll bite you for like no reason. You're like, anyway, okay. Well, we've had those cats that you're like petting them one minute and the next minute they're like pissed off and they like bite you and you're like, what the hell? So, but dogs, like that I've had, I just tended to like their personality more because I can read them better.
Yeah.
They're not mysterious. They're real open with their feelings. You know what I mean? Cats are real mysterious. So you don't know what mood they're in. They could change on a dime, but a dog, you can feel it immediately. Like, they're so simple. You know what I mean?
Sure.
If they're gonna bite you, you'll know way ahead of time because whatever you did wrong, they're snarling at you. They don't just like look at you happy and then bite the shit out of you like a cat.
No, I hear that. I had experience. We had a house cat back in college. It was my roommate's cat, and I could never figure him out. And then, but when my roommates went off on a trip and they left him home alone with me, that's when he would like, show some affection and be like, I'm hanging out with you in your room on your desk and stuff. I'm like, oh wow, I had no idea you thought about me this way.
Right.
But yeah, I do miss him. Shout out to his name is Atticus. But
Atticus, that's so cute. And see, yeah, some cats are so cool. Like I've had friends with cats that are adorable, and they just like they're so chill. You want them to like be on you and play, and they're so cute. But there's no guarantee.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee you could like go get that cat. You don't know, its personality.
No,
FYI, the Burmese, they don't really like other people. They're pretty loyal to like one person. They don't always love other dogs. And then my husband's sisters had a few of them. They like to eat like couches and stuff though. So you definitely would want to like train them because they're the ones they like destroy. They can destroy stuff, but they're fluffy and sweet. But I've noticed they're more shy, like across the board. They're like pretty shy. And then they need a lot of attention because they're super smart.
Man, okay, I got it.
Big, you know what I mean? So they're so big, you have to like train them. You'd have to almost like be home all the time with them, train them, walk them, love them. They're meant to be like outside. They were like trained as like rescue dogs, right? So they need a job, and so they're really good with that kind of like household.
I got you.
But they're so sweet. Like I love petting them. They're so fluffy. It's like a big bear. You're like, oh my god.
I know. I mean, they look hella cute to me. I like how they're almost three-toned. Got the white, the brown, the black. But yeah, I'll keep that in mind, and maybe it aligns with my lifestyle now. So maybe it's something I'll get when I retire, and I could be around a lot more.
Perfect.
My last question for you, Miss Mott, in the warm up is: on a scale from 1 to 10, how well do you know yourself, and why?
Ooh, I like that. I'm gonna use this with my students. Okay. I mean, I'd like to say 10, right? But I change all the time, and like, so maybe I am always learning about myself. So you can't ever really quite 100% nail yourself down if you're like in a constant change, or you're trying to change, or things are different around you. So, I mean, the easy answer you could say, of course I know myself, but do you? I mean, that is a really interesting question, because I think I'm still always learning. Because if you think of every year, like you said, 12 years ago, even, I remember in my 20s versus my 30s versus, later, so different all the time. And I almost can't even remember when I try to think about exactly how I felt in high school, right? Like how the students might feel, because of course we were there. And it seems like you remember it, but at the same time it's hazy, because how you feel now is so different, you know what I mean, and your personality is so different. So I would say I'm probably a 7, and maybe, and always like a constant goal to go for a 10.
I got you. I do agree that we can't fully know ourselves, even if you found somebody that was 100% like super comfortable with who they are. Mad props to them. But also, I think the part that we can never get is how other people see us. We'll always have that view of who we are. And I know for myself, I think I struggle to accept how other people view me sometimes. So yeah, it's one of those things. Like it includes, how you think of yourself, but also how you think other people see yourself. And if you can't accept that, then I think that it won't be, fully 100%.
I like that.
You think you'd use this with your kids?
I'm 100% going to use it as one of our, we call them do nows,
Yeah, I appreciate that.
It's a low stakes question, right? It's low stakes, but then they're all gonna, I can just picture them arguing over it right now. Like, that's a deep question.
That's cool. Well, I want to say that when I spoke to somebody who was a reporter recently, and she was giving me tips on how to interview like younger kids, and she was telling me, or she made a statement that made me really chew on it, because I've interviewed kids before, where she told me that kids think there's a right answer to everything, right? And it's like, wow, that hits different, because I remember being like that before, and now just being like, no, they're for a lot, depending on what you're asking, there isn't really one, but yeah, do you see that in the kids you work with? Yeah.
And I'm glad you said that, because that helps me introduce that question as like a warm-up. Is I am going to say there's no wrong answer, nor is there a correct answer. Your answer is just your answer. It's your, like what they say, it's your truth. That's their story. That's their truth. I'm not expecting a perfect, it doesn't exist. There's no perfect or wrong answer. I like that. So I do notice that students tend to not want to take risks because they're afraid of being wrong. And a lot of them have a fairly low self-esteem, right? They haven't built up that skill of, hey, I might have gotten this wrong a bunch of times, but it's worth the struggle when I finally get it right. They don't see it that way. They feel really frustrated and dumb if they get something wrong right away. And I'll say, but it's not easy. You're learning. We expect you to not know it right away. That's why we practice, right? If you get it right away, then good on you. That's great. But that doesn't mean then the next thing's going to be that easy, or the next thing. It's like some of the struggle's all right, but it's really, really hard for them to get out of that mindset. So we kind of repeatedly encourage them, because I get it. We've all been there when you don't do it well, or you don't get it, you get really frustrated and you feel really down on yourself and you want to quit. But that's not how you learn.
I got you.
Then you'll never learn. You'll never change. You'll just be stagnant. So we try to, but it's easy to say and hard to do. So it's like a constant kind of encouragement. Even if you get it a little bit, I try to encourage, like, see, you are getting it. Do you see that? It's getting there. Keep going with that. So for sure, the kids want the right answer 100%.
No, for sure.
True.
Do you consider yourself an approachable teacher, like as far as how you present yourself to the kids?
100%, because they know that I have their back, even if they've upset me, because there's definitely been kids pissed off at me, and they know the next day I would never hold anything against them, and they don't hold it. I've noticed they don't hold it against me because I'm like that. You know what I mean? Like, if we've argued and there's something we disagree about, I have your back. I'm going to push you, and I'm still going to maybe be upset about something. I'm still going to maybe nag you a little bit, but that's only because I have your back. And once you get to know the students, they see I'm approachable like that. They can come to me with anything. I can't guarantee you're going to like my answer, right? Because I'm going to hold you accountable. But I have a pretty good relationship with the students, where I do feel like I can call them out good or bad. And they also have called me out on things. If there's a mistake or something that wasn't fair, they know they can tell me and I'll take it. I take their opinion, and I'll try to go with that. Like, okay, I hear you. So I think that's what all the teachers, most of the teachers I feel like at Burton are very um, helpful and friendly and have different relationships with their kids. But I feel like all of them are approachable, or almost all of them. Like, you could come to them.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Right?
Do you ever wonder, or has a kid ever expressed that they were scared to approach you, or they're
Not me, but some other teachers, depending on like the type of personality they have. Some teachers are a little more strict than others, and that's just their personality. They're afraid of those teachers, not the laid back ones, because I'm really laid back. So if you're not laid back and you're a little bit more like old school, then I think that's where the kids get afraid and they're like, I don't know, I can't ask him. I'm like, but you don't know them and you haven't tried. So we have to try, because maybe they're only that kind of strict when you're in the whole class and not one-to-one. Right?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, the events and little activities that I do, I try to set up some where kids have to interact with the teacher. Like, oh, it's a scavenger hunt. You have to take a selfie with the teacher, or you got to figure out this, like ask them this question. And, I feel like there's at least some kids do those tasks, and I just hope that that's like just another memory, or like they feel a little bit more connected with their teacher, right? I was asking because I'm always surprised when a kid comes to me and they seem afraid to ask me something, and I'm like, it's all good. I feel like I'm one of a very laid back person at work, and I'm very like just open to hear what kids have to say. But now I realize as you were giving your answer that I think they're scared the bigger the ask, because kids will ask me for things and to do things.
Right.
And I feel like the fear is only when like, oh damn, I know I gotta ask, which honestly makes me feel like I'm happy they're taking into consideration what it would mean for me to say yes or no, right? Like,
yes,
they are respecting my capacity, I hope. I don't know, they'll hear this one day and be like, we did not think about anything like that.
that's probably it. Maybe it's just the question is like hard for them to even like ask.
Yeah. But I'm glad that they got people like us out there, just showing them that you could learn these lessons early, right? I know it's high school, but one day they'll learn them. But we keep throwing out these different opportunities to learn these things early. Hopefully that it lands for them.
Exactly.
And one more question before we move on to the icebreaker. You talked about having questions for your kids. Did you ever give them throw out like a deep question, and how did they respond?
Only really about making setting goals for themselves. That's been a hard question for some of the kids, about like, how do you set goals for yourself? What are the goals? Because some really try, but they're not even close to what setting a goal really means. I mean, we give examples, right? And then I've had kids who are like flat out like, I don't need to make any goals, don't care. So that is one of the toughest kind of like questions I would do in my class, is that what is the goal for yourself and what are you doing here? Why are you here? Because you've seen some of the kids that are there, but they're not there. They don't do anything. And then you wonder the more they fail and get behind on credits, I try to say, like, what are you here for? You're here for a reason, and we have school for a reason. At least we hope so, right? So,
no, for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty deep question already. Like, why are you here?
Why are you here? Like, well, I mean, I don't mean like in life. I mean, like even like in general, you could get deeper into like, what is your purpose? But the students sometimes feel that they're like forced, which I get that they are kind of, but you don't have to come to school every day if that particular school or system doesn't work for you. There's options. So I do try to encourage the students to think about that. There are options for you. What do you want to do? Let us help support that. You're not forced into this. Like, you don't have to be here. There are other ideas,
No,
they don't ever think of that. They don't think of that sometimes.
Yeah. My position, my jobs and responsibility have changed a little bit from last semester to this semester. So this year has been more, I'm honing in on trying to get kids employed, like workforce development, especially the kids that I see have no interest in school. And I'm like, hey, all right, cool. But you could learn things still, but maybe just not here. So
Exactly.
spread the word if you have any kids that are 16 and up.
I will, because I do
Yeah.
that too. Because I have an organization called Department of Rehab that comes in, or they're called Workability, and like Youth Works. And I
Mhm.
try to sign up our kids all the time for the same reason you're doing it. And I'll send some to you too, because she only has certain opportunities. So I want them to have as many opportunities as possible. Because you're right, once some of these kids, most of my kids right now are about 17, and they have never worked. They don't drive, they don't work, they don't have any of their own money. And some of them aren't really doing well in school. They're kind of like social, but they're not really academic. So that's where I try to say, we got to build up these skills before you're 18, before you're a senior. Let's kind of get on like what your goal is for your life, since I think some of them feel like they don't know. They're just drifting,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So those
And
job skills gives them a sense of identity they might not have ever had before.
just
Independence.
and being held accountable, right? And not just for a grade, but for a check, which I feel like they care more about money, which
Exactly. We
understandably.
all do. Yep.
Uh, all right,
Money
Miss Mott,
helps.
we're gonna jump into the icebreaker.
Okay.
All right. So in this icebreaker, you'll have 34 seconds to either do a this or that or a word association. Which way
Okay.
do you feel like going?
This or that.
This or that. All right, I got you. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Books or movies?
Books.
Second chance at love or second chance at your career?
Love.
Group hangout or one-on-one hangout?
I like groups.
Hang out with little kids or old folks?
Oh, that's hard. Little kids.
Time machine or magic wand?
Time machine.
Vacation or staycation?
Vacation.
Sort by price or sort by rating?
Ooh, rating.
Ambition or comfort?
Uh, ambition.
Gotcha. All right. I'm just gonna follow up on a couple of those answers. Since you kind of laughed at this last one, ambition or comfort, why'd you go with ambition?
So just to not to be like a boring story, I'll make it fast. But last year, I was a department head at a different school for about a decade. I decided through my admin's suggestion to go a different path within the district. And so I did. I experimented with being a coach, an instructional coach for adults. Hated it every second. I did not like it. I was learning the whole time and I was not happy. I was pretty miserable, even though I tried to stay positive that I was learning and getting out of my comfort zone. But it was a really good experience and I'm glad I did it because I was stagnant. I was kind of bored. And then it also led me now to Burton, which is a bigger school than I was at and also is helping me grow. So if I hadn't have taken that chance and gone out of my comfort zone, I wouldn't be where I am right now, which I like. So it was a rough patch, you know what I mean? Like I needed to get out of my comfort zone and those are hard. And there were definitely times that I was like, why, when I was so comfortable, even if I was bored, why did I change this up? But there's a reason later, right? So I would have never done it. And I'm glad my admin kind of pushed me. And I'm glad I did it, even though I didn't like it. It's okay. And that's another lesson that you have to learn. And it's not easy. And it was not easy for me the whole year. I was like, oh, I just want to be comfortable again, like so bad. And then I got through it and I knew I didn't want to do it. And I moved on to Burton. And even being at Burton, I'm co-teaching math and teaching a math class, which I don't usually like. Also out of my comfort zone. And when I was first told I was going to do math, I wanted to cry. I was like, nope, because I'm comfortable with things that I know better. But I've learned so much already this year, and it's still out of my comfort zone that it's a good thing. You almost have to force the ambition. It's so hard, like ripping off a Band-Aid. So you could always stay comfortable, but then what do you get out of it? You know what I mean? Like you just stay there forever and ever and ever. And to me, I got bored, to be honest. The comfort, it can be boring. So it's okay to like rip that Band-Aid off for a little bit. Now, I do like comfort and there's a value in that for like your stress level, right? So it's okay to have a little shake up here and there and then get back. Now I'm getting comfortable again. You know what I mean? So that's, so I'm not saying you should always be stressed out, but I think ambition doesn't have to be stressful. But sometimes it kind of is because it's an effort.
For sure.
It takes effort.
No, I agree. You talk about the story for you from last year. I think I'm currently in that story that I'll be talking about
Hmm,
next year.
okay,
um,
yep, yep.
yeah,
You're
it's
doing something new. Not easy.
definitely. No, I mean, it's. I can you say something real quick? I just want to make sure if my
Oh yeah.
my oh
Can you hear
okay,
me?
I still hear you.
Okay.
I still because
Good.
my Bluetooth might die and I have to switch
Oh yeah, no
in a little
worries.
bit. But yeah, I hope next year I'll be talking like you are now. Um, I'm in this program, like this internship. It's been a while since I've been in a class and done these things. And I don't know, it's about journalism and reporting and stuff.
Mm.
And I'm halfway through, and I think I've realized that I'm not really a reporter, not in the traditional sense.
Uh-huh.
Um, but it's definitely, I've met a lot of great people. They've taught me a lot of things. But now I feel like, if I had that what if in my mind, before, I feel like now it's okay. I can be at peace with like saying I tried, and I
Good.
realized it wasn't for me. I've worked about 20 jobs, Miss Mott, and getting bored. I got bored a lot faster in a lot of jobs. The only thing that really stuck was this Y job that I have now. I had
Nice.
worked at Burton in 2017, but left because I got bored, and
Mhm.
but I realized what I loved about it, so I came back in 2021. Um, and yeah, but to be real with you, I definitely feel like I'm getting to a point of like I'm too comfortable, and I'm afraid to figure out what's next, or because I took a long time to find this job and I love it so much that if I leave, I don't want to fall back into bad habits of getting bored or trying to find reasons of why this isn't for me. Um,
Yep.
so yeah, I think that's where I'm at, but I'll let you know a year from now
Good
how
luck.
things are going. Thank you.
You already have the good attitude, right? That you're like, this isn't necessarily easy, but I'm in it now and I want to like change it up. So that's exactly what I think we have to stick with. You have to write it out
Yeah, yeah,
and,
and
and give it a chance until it starts to start maybe feel comfortable. And if it never does, then that's okay to say like it's never getting comfortable. I'm never getting better at it, but I tried it for X amount of time. But give it time. Like I feel like a year is a pretty good amount of time that you can start to really tell, like, okay, cool. I'm gonna stick with this. Or I'm not ready for that, or that's just not the right path.
yeah, yeah. I'm
Fine.
still, discovering the industry, trying to see if there is a place where I fit within like journalism. But we'll see. And
Yeah, I can imagine journalism's not always easy, right? And
oh,
you'll
it's
have to
not.
pick your own style, like you don't know yet. Like you can learn the traditional way and then tweak it for your own style. I think that's what would make a good journalist.
Yeah, yeah, and working with people that have experience, and I see how they do their thing. Um, it's not that I don't think I'm capable of that, but I feel like the journey they took is one that where I would crumble almost. I don't know that I don't know if that's me like just being scared about it, but if but the drive isn't there. I noticed that they are
Mm,
driven to tell search the truth, present it to the people for their reasons. For me, it's like I'm a very nice person. So like if I'm going up to someone asking them like, did you do this? And they tell me
mm.
no, I'm like, oh, okay, I believe you. And then regular reporters be like, well,
Uh,
they've done their research, they'll bring up the facts and they'll push hard because they
right,
know what's important and what's at stake.
right,
And I don't have I don't have that in me right now, but maybe
right.
one day I'll
You're
develop.
like, okay, sounds good. Okay,
Yeah,
bye.
I understand. Sorry for bothering you. Like,
Yeah, like, okay, sorry. But yeah, it would
uh,
take practice. I can imagine that's not like a skill you would get like immediately. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Because I would crumble too, of course, 100%. I'd be like, sure, okay. It would take practice and confidence to be able to
Mm,
push. You know what I mean? It would take you have to have the confidence that you wouldn't have yet. It needs practice, 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 for sure.
yeah, yeah. I'll let you know
Yeah,
in a
I'm like, you
little bit.
sound pretty normal, like everybody else at the beginning, right? Like you're learning that, like, of course.
No, for sure. There's some exciting things that I've had the opportunity to do there that I think will definitely help me, even with this podcast. Like approaching people on the street, trying to get their opinion on something. That's something I would tell myself, oh, I'm gonna do that, but I never, I never did it. And I think that's something that I will definitely help me, even with this podcast. Like approaching people on the street, trying to get their opinion on something. That's something I would tell myself, oh, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna do that, but I never, felt like, I didn't have that drive. But then when I would volunteer for it at this internship, it's like, well, if I don't do it now, I'm going back on my word. I'm not,
You have no chance. You
following
have no
through.
choice.
So it pushed me. And after I did it a couple times, I'm like, hey, this isn't that bad. I think I can do this with the pod. And that's definitely, yeah, it's
because it does sound scary to me, for sure. It does not sound easy. The strangers who are like, never, no, thank you, I don't want to talk to you, whatever, right?
Oh yeah.
That takes a certain,
one thing
bravery.
I realize is there's people that's watching, and if they see you with enough rejections, they'll come up to you because they'll be like,
that's so nice. Okay,
yeah.
They're like, okay, too bad. What do you want?
Yeah.
Can I help you? You're hurting me. You watching that was hurtful to me. I'm gonna help you.
It was cringy. Yeah.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
And you're like, yes, please, for the love of God, help me.
I definitely appreciate it. And I feel like if I ever see that on the other side, I'll be like, oh yeah, for sure.
You gotta get back now.
Yeah.
You gotta get back now. Exactly.
All right, Miss Mott, let's move on over to the wheel.
All right.
All right. So I will spin the wheel, and then just a reminder: any number it lands on, if the question's too deep, too personal, you don't want to talk about it, feel free to pass. All right.
Okay.
So here we go. Number one. What would you like to forget? Yeah.
Yeah, because then you wonder like how deep do you want to like go into this? I don't want to be like super sad or anything, but my mom dying was really tough. Yeah, I saw her really sick, and I left before she died, but I knew she was dying, and so that like will stick with me in my head like forever. And I wish, not that I want to forget her, but I want to just, like those movies where people erase the bad memories and they've, like there's a movie, what's it called? Eternal
Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yeah, remember they want to like erase like someone who broke their heart or whatever, and you almost feel bad that they would want to do that, but you get it. You're like, what if I could just erase bad memories like that, and then you would never dwell on them or think about them again. And then I would only have like the happy. So I would love to forget that, just that one little last part, and just the good part like before it would be great.
I hear you, Miss Mott.
Cut it out. But otherwise, sure. I mean, bad things happen to all of us at different times that I don't necessarily need to forget. You know what I mean?
No, I hear you.
I know all be happy all the time, of course.
Well, I just want to say thank you for sharing that piece.
Yeah. Thank you.
I feel you. I still live with my folks. I grew up an only child, so Aww. there's a part of me that feels like I have to be there for them. And I do definitely get the pull of like, oh, you gotta live your own life and do these things. I think I just don't want to regret, especially if they're getting older in age, and I've seen it, right? Like staying with them and just like, damn, do I ever want to feel like I didn't, spend enough time with them?
I would say I'm jealous because now that I don't have either, my dad died soon after her. And I tell everybody with their parents, and no matter how old they are, or like if they get annoying, because my mom would annoy me with some of her long phone calls and like crazy Facebook things that she would try to do in her 80s. I would give anything for like one more second. So it's good to think, yes, you have your own life and you can't like, rely on them every day, all day, right? You're an adult and you have your life, but just to definitely enjoy those weird moments where you feel like you don't have time for them. Take the phone call from your mother, take your dad's weird joke, all of this stuff, because you're going to hang on to it. And I hold them in like a little memory jar and I pull them out when I want to be happy. I take all the even annoying little things. I love it. Do you know what I mean?
No, I got you.
You gotta like definitely, if your parents are still around, like enjoy every second, because you just don't know.
Yeah.
And they're amazing. You know what I mean? They're amazing. And yeah, there's no other mom and dad. So I'm like, I can adopt, sure. Like someone else's mom and dad, which I have, or they've adopted me, of course, like my friends from high school, like their parents know my parents, like all of that, but it's still not quite the same. They're like aunties and uncles. So I'm like, well, the mom and dad's important.
No, for sure. I agree. And yeah, I hope that whenever it happens, I can look back and just feel at peace with my decisions.
You're a good son.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I but they're super proud of you. So like, that's exactly it. That's what you want. That's what you're, you want those good memories. And they're like, I'm trying to be the best son I can be, also be myself, also not be perfect, but still.
Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate the fact my parents know I'm not perfect, or
They know they're not perfect either, right? They're not perfect. It must be hard to be a parent. I've never been one. So I'm like, I can't even imagine, when parents, they like aren't great, you're like, how hard it must be to be a parent.
Oh, I think that's
It'd
why I'm
be
so
so
terrified,
hard. God bless them. You know what I mean? Like, they had to deal with us. It's like, they're doing the best they can.
Yeah, they are doing the best they can.
Right?
I don't know if if you feel comfortable talking about this, but I would like to ask, what do you feel like you got from your parents as far as like quality wise? Like, I'm like this of my mom, I'm like this of my dad.
Oh yeah, my mom. I mean, and the thing is, I'm not religious at all, and they are very religious. But what they instilled in me with that is just like a sense of like, you're loved no matter what. I like to tend to think it's like just the universe. You know what I mean? So they still instilled in me a purpose. Their purpose is based off of God. Mine wouldn't be named God necessarily, and I don't really know. I mean, who knows? It could be, could not be. But they definitely instilled in me that I'm loved regardless of what I believe in. And they didn't, they never made me feel bad that I wasn't religious. You know what I mean? I mean, they were disappointed, meaning that's what they hoped for me. And we would get into debates, of course, many times over stuff. I would say, well, this is how I believe. Why do you believe that? Blah, blah, blah. So we had really good conversations, but they always made me feel loved. Even when I was the weird goth tattooed girl, that was the opposite of what they would have technically wanted for a daughter, they still made me feel really like loved and proud. And so I feel like that's in me, that I accept people. I try to accept them for who they are. You know what I mean? And just be like, everyone's loved regardless of your beliefs. So you do you, I still love you. And my dad he was funny, always laid back, always super funny. Never saw him super serious. Not that I haven't seen him mad at me, of course. But he just was, he still called me like I still called him daddy, even though I'm old. You know what I mean? I was like, hi, daddy. And he just made me feel super duper loved. So I try to keep that kind of humor and laid backness that he always had. Everybody loved him. You want people to like you that way. He was very warm. So they're just both, really giving, really cool people. Everybody liked him. So I try to take that, I try to be like that.
I hear you. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Let me see. Let's I think we got time for another wheel. And my Bluetooth just died, so I'm switching earpieces real quick.
Can you hear me?
I hear you now.
You switched it smooth. You knew it was coming.
Thank you. Yeah. Let me pull up the wheel one more time. We got time for one more spin.
All right.
I just want to thank you again for coming through, Miss Mott.
Thank you so much for asking. When I read your email, I was like, this is amazing. Especially if you remember, I said I was adopted.
Yeah.
I have a whole story about that. Yeah, I was like, I got a whole. What a great idea, by the way. I love it.
Would you want to talk about that? I don't have to spin the wheel. It sounds like that's something you're excited to talk about.
It's a cool story. Do you know what I mean? It's an interesting story. Based on everything that you were like doing with like your like who you are and like your ancestors, right? Like that meant a lot to me, because I recently, if this can be our question, then is like, what's it like to be adopted or blah. I found out I was adopted when I was like 5. So I grew up and they said right away, you were adopted, you have other parents, but we picked you out and we wanted you. And I was like, okay. And I was confused because I was like, I got a couple sets of parents. That's cool. Like, do I get extra presents? Like, how's this go? And they just didn't want anyone to say you're adopted, and you are, right? I had an older sister, 7 years. She was adopted from a different family. So I have a sister, but we're not blood sisters, right? So we both knew we were adopted. She knew right away. As I got older, though, it bothered me a little bit. Like, well, who are my parents and what is my nationality? Like just for a white girl, there is a lot in there. So I was like, so what am I? And some people said I look like my mom, my adoptive mom, but she actually, once I did my DNA, neither one of them had anything even related to me in any way, besides just being like, like the typical white older parents. So my adopted dad, it was 100% Eastern European. So he had like blue eyes, grew up with blonde hair, although he was kind of balding by the time, like, I was older. I never really saw him with a lot of hair. I'll say, no offense, Dad, sorry. My mom's actually like over half Native American Blackfoot. So she had brown eyes like me, and she had brown hair, but she was way darker. And I have freckles and she didn't have freckles, and I don't tan. I'm white and I burn. So she just was a little bit, I could tell I wasn't either of those things. I did my DNA. Oh, to backtrack real quick, in my 30s, I decided to find who my birth family was, because it's a closed adoptions, because I was born in the 70s. So in the 70s, there is no open adoption. It's all closed. They know nothing. My parents said, oh, your parents were young, they were in college, and they were in love, and they couldn't have a baby. And that was the story I was told. In my 20s, or I guess maybe my early 30s, I hired an intermediary from the courts to find my records and open them. What they do is they open the records for a fee, they find who's in the records, and they contact them. And if they say it's okay, they'll contact me with the information. If the people say no, it's no. Luckily, the lady who called me said, my person I had hired goes, I have good news and I have bad news. One, your birth mom has passed away. She had a heart attack a couple years ago, so she's not alive. You have a birth dad in Detroit, and you have a half sister in California who knows all about you and wants to talk to you. So I flew out to California from Michigan. I'm from Detroit. Met my half sister, who had heard about me her whole life. She was the second kid from a different dad. My birth mom was 15 when she had me, was forced to give me up for adoption, and had never gotten over it, but never tried to find me. My birth dad just was like kind of like a young, dumb, like her older brother's, friend that had sex with her or whatever happened, and they were young. So fast forward years later, I do talk to my birth dad now. We have a relationship. I have never met him, but I've talked to him on the phone. I do want to go visit him. I did my DNA test, and it's funny because he's 100% Sicilian, and it said in my DNA I'm like 53% Sicilian, and then whatever the other like Eastern European white stuff is. And I thought that was crazy for how kind of like pale and freckly I am. I'm like, oh, I'm Italian. And then now I'm all like kind of joking around like I'm a Sicilian, hey.
Yeah.
So I've been really into like my Italian roots and wanting to hear all the stories from him. Tell me all about my birth family, because I have never met, besides my half sister, anyone who's a blood relative, right? I don't want a mom and dad because I have one, but I love that this man has never gotten married. He's a motorcycle dude that lives alone with no kids. I'm his only birth daughter, and he welcomed it now, even though his whole life he just denied me and didn't care and didn't have a relationship with my birth mom. That's been cool and interesting. You know what I mean? So he's like, wow, I do accept I have this adult daughter now, and now I want to get to know her. And I've been like super cool with it. Like told him, I don't need anything from you. I'm old now, but I would love to get to know you. You're the only blood relative I have, because my half sister actually passed away. There is no one left that I know of. You know what I mean? So she passed away. My birth mom passed away. My adoptive parents passed away. And then he's this bond, like a different kind of bond, a blood bond, who has this story of my heritage that I'm super interested in now. I want to hear all about the Sicilian side that I had no idea existed until I was already in my 30s. So it's like, oh my God, what a cool like thing now to like find out about myself when it's so different from how I grew up. It's like almost like another person. There's this man who's technically my birth dad who's Sicilian. You know what I mean? It's great. It's super fun. So I've been talking to him, and like I said, we've talked on the phone, but he lives in Detroit. So I did promise to come visit, and I can't wait to meet him. I do look like him, which is funny because we have shared baby pictures. And of course he's like, I've dated people that had motorcycles and I have tattoos. And of course he's like the tattooed motorcycle guy. And I was like, oh, of course it is. It's just a random thing where I was like, oh, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, even though I've never met the man, and I'm like, oh, of course. And then everyone who sees our pictures is like, he looks just like him. And I was like, that is crazy. So he appreciated that. And I think he's kind of lonely, like a lonely bachelor dude. And I could tell he liked it when I reached out. He was like, oh, wow. I can't believe this adult woman, wants to like talk to me. So we talk really smooth, and he's cool, and I want to go meet him, and I want to hear all about his mom and dad, who are my grandparents, and just like all the story. He had a brother who died. I've never met an uncle. He never had any other kids. So we're like the only blood relatives. And I just think that's deep.
That is super deep.
It's like an Oprah episode or something. I was like, my birth dad in Detroit. Like, it's like, oh, crazy. That's like my life right now. So I think it's really cool, and I am grateful to have found him, and gotten my those DNA tests are crazy. If you've ever done it, it's amazing.
I want to try. I want to pinpoint exactly what I'm made of.
It's so cool. It's stuff you don't even think of, because of course your dad's like, oh, you're a Ramirez, you're this, but you don't even know you might have this like South African cousin, and you're like, what?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Philippines have been colonized a bunch of times. I don't know. who
So
else
you're like,
go there?
there's a lot of stories in there that you're not even sure, so it's cool. And it's only like $100, and you just do like the saliva, and it can give you medical stuff.
Oh,
because they'll say anxiety runs in your genes a little higher, so you need to manage your stress, or high blood pressure might be a little bit stronger for you, so be careful of this. And you're like, oh, that makes sense. And you answer questions and stuff, and I have they'll connect you with other people around the United States and the world that are related to you by like blood, even if it's like a fifth cousin.
Do we both have to sign up for it though, for us to get connected?
Oh, I mean, yes, they would have already done it, and they're in the system. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Would have never. These are people I don't know, but it'll say, "Oh, this person in Baltimore is your fourth cousin, Patricia," and I'm like, "Oh my god, okay," because they did it, and their blood is related to like my grandma, whatever, and so they put it in a database, and then they start to connect you like the Matrix.
Yeah.
It's wild, and then the app will alert you like. They'll be like, Miss Mott, do you know you have a like third cousin in like Spain? And you're like, no. And they'll connect you. You can talk to them if you want to, and I have.
That's wild.
You can email each other, and you'll be like, hey, Lisa, I'm your third cousin. And they're like, hey, what's up? So I've talked to these people. Yeah.
If I'm thinking about it, and if I do it and I find somebody, hopefully they'd be open to connecting on the pod and us just having a conversation about all that journey.
It's like $100. They do it. It's called 23andMe, and they. I should. Oh yeah. See, I should be getting like royalties for this, right? Because I'm selling it, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So you hear that, 23andMe? You can pay me. I will sell it, but you would definitely have that. I bet they would love it. You would have people like have that conversation of how are you connected by who? Because they start to narrow down. Oh, it's my cousin's dad's uncle knows your mom's whatever, and you're like, oh shit, okay.
Yeah.
So that's so cool. I love it, and I want to meet some of these people, but I have emailed them, and we've talked, and we've shared pictures and stuff, and it's super cool. And they don't live in California, they're all over the place.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that incredible story. I want to say it speaks a lot to you as well, as far as how open you are to meeting your birth dad, and not really, a lot of people can hold a lot of resentment and maybe ill feelings.
For sure.
But the fact that you're as open as he is, I think that does create a crazy opportunity to just get to know someone that is a part of you in a way. But yeah.
Because to me, the past was the past. I'm like, that's all under the bridge. I imagine he was a jerk back in the day. I have nothing to do with that now. It's too late. My birth mom's dead now, so it's like, let's just move on, and you can regret stuff from the past, that's fine, but let's like move forward.
I can't imagine how much his mind was blown though. Like,
it was, I can tell for sure. Like almost like a what do I want? I think he was nervous, like, or I was like, I don't want or need anything from you. And then once I think he felt comfortable that I wasn't going to be mad or like demand anything or be like, why'd you treat my mom like, she was too young? I didn't lecture him. That's not my job. He knows. So it's like, we're old now. Let's just move forward. It's all good. Because he did try to, of course, he tried to explain what happened. I'm like, yeah.
Wow.
I get it.
So, it's been on his mind. His first instinct was to explain himself. Like,
you had this baby put up for adoption. How can you not forget that, right?
yeah. No, you're right.
But
I got you, Miss Mott. We are getting into the final stages of the interview. This next part is going to be an exercise for you. It's called the 34th mantra. I'm going to disappear off the screen. It's going to be you in the galaxy. And I'd like you to fill out the phrase, I am, I can, I will. All right? And here you go.
Okay. I am, I can, I will. I am, I can, I will. I am, I can, I will.
I would like you to fill in the blank. Like, I am blank, I can blank, I will blank.
Okay. I am positive. I can make a difference. I will persevere. I am. Is that it? I was like, I forgot probably what I said.
No, you got it.
I was like, wait, I forget. I should have wrote it down.
No. I mean, this is why we recorded it, so you can have it. I joke for people to put it as their alarm, when they wake up in the morning.
Nice.
But yeah, maybe a ringtone.
I love
Thank you. Thank you for doing that exercise.
Thank you.
We made it to the closeout to our final 3 questions. This next one is actually from my previous guest, which is Miss Smits. So shout out to Miss Smits for coming by. Her question for you is, if there was a clone of yourself, how would you convince people that you're the real one?
Ooh, Smits. That's a good one. Okay. Does the clone have all your memories?
Yes. These are her parameters. Yeah.
Because if they know all my favorite things, I'd be like, what's my favorite movie? Or what's my favorite food? I don't know. Maybe it would have to be with something about my dog that only the dog and I would know. Not even in my memories, some kind of dog test. Because I feel like my husband wouldn't even know. He'd love the clone. But the dog would know. I feel like the dog would know who the real Mott is.
I believe that.
Right? I don't know if I could do it. Because if you just say, I'm the real one, that's what they're going to say. No, I am. What's my favorite movie? And they'll be like, Shaun of the Dead. And I'm like, damn.
I honestly forgot what my answer was because but she told me oh, that's a really good one. I gotta look back. I'll let you know in person.
Yeah, I want to know what your answer is now. That's a good question.
What's it called? Yeah, I had a follow up, but it escaped me. So my second to last question for you, Miss Mott, is what would you like to ask the next guest on 34 Questions?
Okay. If you could have any talent, anything just now, in your brain, Star Trek wise, what would you have? You could just do it.
I'm gonna just write this down quick. If you could have any talent, what would it be? Right now in this moment?
Exactly. You don't even have to practice for it. You just have it.
Man. I think I wish I could be more fearless, I guess, or have more confidence. I think it's something I've lacked a lot in my life. Hence, I'm an introverted person. I do my podcast through Zoom, I don't have to be around anybody else to do it. Yeah, so I feel like I wasn't as fearful in certain moments. There's things I've gotten used to, things that don't seem as scary, but I think in moments, I have that side that's just gonna freeze or fight, flight, or freeze. I'm a freeze person, and something I want to work on more and more, put myself in positions that I'm not comfortable in and see how I react. I have this habit of jumping the gun. An opportunity comes, I'm not even think about it. I'll just be like, yes, and then have to deal with the stresses and everything else that comes afterwards. But yeah, so I guess for me, I wish I could find the right word for that talent. But yeah, just more courage. I feel like that's Wizard of Oz. But yeah,
that's the perfect word for it, is more courage.
Yeah.
Because that's not easy. Courage is not easy. Being an extrovert isn't easy either, I don't think. You know what I mean?
I admire one of my questions is what do you admire in other people? And I think that would be my answer for sure, is folks that just that aren't thinking about what could go wrong, but yeah. And I think for other folks, they might see me as that kind of person that is overtly positive, which I think I've worked on. I haven't always been that way, But yeah, thank you, Miss Mott, and we'll see who gets this next question. Maybe it's another, someone from our community.
Yeah.
And my last question for you, Miss Mott, 100, 200, 300 years from now, our descendants are watching this video. What would you like to tell them?
That all of us are connected, and to keep moving forward, keep the positivity and the love, and keep the generations going, and not to give up, because it is all connected and it all means a lot. And that I almost feel that we're all looking over each other, meaning like our ancestors from the past are still with us somehow and looking over us, and we're there with them. I would like to tell them that somehow, if I can, I would be with them. I'm there somehow in the matrix.
I feel you.
Like we're all a part of each other. Like, what do you look like the Force in Star Wars, right? Like we're there. We're in the Force. We're a part of them. We'll never not be a part of each other.
I mean, isn't that what they say about energy? It's like it doesn't get destroyed; it just changes forms, or
Right.
like different things. So I mean, I do believe that. So yeah,
I like exactly. We're all a part of this energy.
I don't know. Maybe the science person's gonna roast me in the comments, but
No, it could be true.
explain it to me.
Exactly.
But they hear you, Miss Mott. I hear you. Just want to thank you again for stopping by. I hope this was fun for you. How do you feel about a quick screenshot picture?
Oh yeah, of course.
All right, here we go.
I'm like scraggly a little bit, but
No worries. 3, 2, 1. I got it. Thank you, Miss Mott. I want to thank the folks out there. If you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, definitely appreciate your time as well. Please remember to reach out, reach forward. As always, much love, and we'll catch you guys next time on 34 Questions. Peace.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. I'm just gonna let the credits roll real quick, and real quickly just ask you, how's that experience like for you?
Oh, I love it. That was great. It was super fun.
Cool.
I love the questions. I love the talk. Talking about the kids. Yeah, it's great.
Thank you,
And
Miss Mott.
food. So I know you said you don't feel like secure, but you can tell that you've been doing this. You're easy to talk to. I feel like you made me feel comfortable and not nervous.
Thank you,
So
Miss Mott.
kudos to that, right? I mean, not everyone has that vibe. So you're obviously doing well with what I'm imagining that that's what you would want for your guests, is to feel comfortable, and you have that.
Oh yeah. I definitely am aiming for that. So if you're feeling that way,
you make me feel like my answers were valuable to you, like that you care. Like, you can't fake that. So keep going with that, because I think that would make you're gonna go really far with that. Because that's where you would get people to open up as a journalist to me, right? Is like that warm, no wrong answer. I actually care about your answers. Whereas a lot of journalists, you still even see them. I don't believe them. I don't think they do care. Just because they do it doesn't mean they're doing it like comfortably or well. But those journalists that become like popular, they have that vibe that people want to open up to you and they want to talk to you. And that's not easily earned, that trust. So I feel that you already have that. You know what I mean?
Thank you, Miss Mott.
I hope you see that, even though I know you're working and you feel introverted, but it's like maybe that little bit of insecurity and introvertness makes you more honest and approachable, right? Because if you're too confident and too extroverted, I almost feel like it's about you and not about me, but you made it feel like it was about me, even though you're sharing in the conversation. And I think that's important for like an interview. You know what I mean?
For sure.
That's just my opinion, but like, we've all seen interviews where you feel like the journalist or the news person or whoever is kind of like, they don't care. And you're like, what? I don't know.
No.
And then no one wants to talk to them, and they're not really getting their answers, even if they're aggressive. So, but if you can be warm and honest and a little bit humble, then people are like, they'll trust you more, because it's not always easy to talk about yourself. So
yeah.
So good job. Keep that up.
I'm definitely going to keep this recording just so I can be reminded.
Your little mantra is like, because Because it's
Yeah.
true. I'm just being honest. Yeah, I'm being honest. Yeah.
Thank you, Miss Mott. You definitely went into teacher mode there, trying to help uplift
Well,
a
because I
student,
could
you know?
feel you doing this. So I was like, I hope he doesn't think he's not going to do this, because clearly I see you doing this because you feel, I see you being comfortable with it and getting people comfortable with that. That's amazing. That's a skill
Gotcha.
that everybody has. So continue that work if you feel like that's your calling. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get, and you know, I think it is, Miss Mott. It's
Cool.
something that I'm gonna be pushing. I tell people it's not about, even though the goal would be for someone to be like, hey Jen, we like what you're doing, go ahead around the world, talk to people. But if
Yes.
that doesn't happen, and I'm with the why my whole life, and I just do this at night when I'm with people, I'm fine with that too.
Right?
But yeah.
That's cool.